Hello everyone, this is Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to study paper 90, Shamanism, Medicine Men, and Priests. And this starts on page 986.1, or paper 9001, and we'll say a little prayer and get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight that we might study this wonderful revelation. We thank you for the opportunity to serve and that we might teach others what we learn in these meetings and share it that they might be more enlightened in their life. We thank you for all the blessings of our world and our planet. And pray that you'll be with us during this meeting, that we might learn something and share with others, and others might benefit from it. We say this in your Son's name, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen. All right, paper 90. Shamanism, medicine men, and priests. The evolution of religious observances progressed from placation, avoidance, exorcism, coercion, conciliation, and propitiation to sacrifice, atonement, and redemption. The technique of religious ritual passed from the forms of the primitive cult through fetishes to magic and miracles, and as ritual became more complex in response to men's increasingly complex concept of the material realms, it was inevitably dominated by medicine men, shamans, and priests. I have a nice little picture. Oh, well, this was the that's what we just heard. Sorry about that, y'all. And this is a nice little picture of a shaman in his hut. And you can see he's got his little mechanism he's holding on to, and all his little paraphernalia laying around him, and he's trying to get somebody well. Let's see. Tim, would you like to take the next one? Let me know when Millie gets.
In the advancing concepts of primitive man, the spirit world was eventually regarded as being unresponsive to the ordinary mortal. Only the exceptional among humans could catch the ear of the gods. Only the extraordinary man or woman would be heard by the spirits. Religion thus enters on a new phase, a stage wherein it gradually becomes second-handed. Always does a medicine man, a shaman, or a priest intervene between the religionist and the object of worship. And today, most deranged systems of organized religious belief are passing through this level of evolutionary development.
All right, so in other words, for you to contact the spirit world, the early humans believed they had to have a shaman, a priest, or a medicine man to be able to do this. All right. Would you say Millie's doing this? Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Sure. Evolutionary religion is born of a simple and all-powerful fear. The fear which surges through the human mind when confronted with the unknown, the inexplicable, and the incomprehensible. Religion eventually achieves the profoundly simple realization of an all-powerful love, a love which sweeps irresistibly through the human soul when awakened to the conception of the limitless affection of the universal Father for the sons of the universe. But in between the beginning and the consummation of religious evolution, there intervene the long ages of the shamans, who presume to stand between man and God as an intermediaries, interpreters, and intercessors.
All right, so early man did realize that the universal Father actually dwelled within the human being, right? And we know that now. So we know we can communicate with God directly through our Father gesture, or our Father prayer, right? And so these early men were not aware of this. So they truly believed they had to have a intermediary to even contact God, rather than knowing that they could contact God directly through themselves. So this is where the shamans and the priests came in. All right.
One, the first shamans, the medicine men. The shaman was the ranking medicine man, the ceremonial fetishman, and the focused personality for all the practices of evolutionary religion. In many groves, the shaman outranked the war chief, marking the beginning of the church domination of the state. The shaman sometimes functioned as a priest and even as a priest king. Some of the latter tribes had both the earlier shaman medicine men, seers, and the later appearing shaman priests. And in many cases, the office of shaman became hereditary.
So they pass it down to their sons, right?
Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
what does that word gross mean?
Well, it's supposed to be group.
Group, oh, okay.
Group. Yeah, I got
I
cut
thought,
off.
oh, that's
probably.
weird.
Probably.
It's gross?
It's not groups, it's
Group.
group. It's just
in many groups.
Groups, the shaman, yeah.
That's a misprint. G-R-O-U-P.
Yeah, that's probably a copying error.
Huh.
So,
Yeah.
you can blame Roger on
Well, I
that.
was right on the monies.
Yeah.
Well, I've got my book right here, and I said this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I read it off the screen, yeah.
Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. Since in olden times anything abnormal was ascribed to spirit possession, any striking mental or physical abnormality, I beg your pardon? Any striking mental or physical abnormality constituted qualification for being a medicine man. Many of these men were epileptic, many of the women hysteric. And these two types accounted for a good deal of ancient exploration, as well as spirit and devil possession. Quite a few of these earliest of priests were a class which has since been denominated paranoid.
So all you had to do to be a medicine man was to be a little bit mentally ill, right? So, Tim, would you take the next one, please?
While they may have practiced deception in minor matters, the great majority of the shamans believed in the fact of their spirit possession. Women who were able to throw themselves into a trance, right,
Cataleptic.
fit became powerful. Shamanism,
Shamanism.
yeah, shamanism,
It's a woman shaman.
shamanism. Later, such women became prophets and spirit mediums. Their cataleptic trances usually involved alleged communication with the ghost. What's that? Alleged communications with the ghost of the dead. Many female shamans were also professional dancers. Huh. You know what, Roger? I saw this documentary in India, and this guy was going and the woman was just dancing around in a trance, and
Yeah.
and just whoa.
Yeah.
It was so hilarious.
Yeah. And we know they can't communicate with the dead, right?
No.
Because people are not allowed to communicate back to this planet once they leave for at least a whole millennium. So, and only after then, in special circumstances, if they're assigned to the planet in some function. So they wouldn't contact anybody when they came back.
No, but there is a majority of people, that do believe in that.
Oh, there is, and
Yeah, so
it's just not true. They're being duped by whoever is leading the thing.
There's some people that are very good at it.
Oh, there, yeah. It sounds authentic, but it's not. Let's see. Rodney.
Okay, but not all shamans were self-deceived. Many were shrewd and able tricksters. As the profession developed, a novice was required to serve an apprenticeship, often years of hardship and self-denial, to qualify as a medicine man. Shamans developed a professional mode of dress and affected a mysterious conduct. They frequently employed drugs to induce certain physical states, which would impress and mystify the tribesmen. Sleight of hand feats were regarded as supernatural by the common folk, and ventriloquism was first used by shrewd priests. Many of the olden shamans unwittingly stumbled onto hypnotism. Others induced auto-hypnotism by prolonged staring at their neighbors.
You know, they talk about using drugs to get to these states. You know, we had a period of time like that. You know, they called it the 60s.
Hey Roger, what is the auto-hypnotism?
Auto-hypnosis. There's several
Yeah.
types of hypnosis out there. I studied this for a couple of years in college, and one of these things is auto-hypnosis. In other words, you're able to put yourself into hypnosis yourself rather than have somebody hypnotize you. And then
Right.
there's something called somnipulant wake and suggestion. And under the somnipulant wake and suggestion, you can basically train yourself or have someone else do it, certain suggestions, so that when you come out of the hypnotic state, you're more able to receive those suggestions. So there's a lot to hypnotism.
You don't have to stare at your navel.
Huh?
You do not have to stare at your navel.
You don't have to stare at your neighbor to go into
You're in that
auto-hypnosis.
state.
Navel, honey, not neighbor.
Yeah. What I say, neighbor?
You're in the state for auto-hypnosis.
That's
When
right.
you're going to sleep at night, it's just before you go to sleep.
Right.
You're
Right.
still aware, you're not quite awake, you're not quite asleep. That's the time when you're susceptible to auto-hypnosis, where you can tell yourself, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do this, or I am going to do that.
That's right. Yeah.
That's when you do positive affirmations.
That's when you do positive affirmations. That's correct.
You shut out today and you're not quite into sleep. So
Right.
you're in some place that's not functioning on the regular level.
Yeah, many people don't realize when they go through hypnosis classes and things like that a good many of the people when I was taking these classes would actually fall completely asleep when they were hypnotized. Not into a hypnotic state, but they would go just over that auto-hypnosis realm, and they would just go to sleep. We'd have to wake them up, you know.
You know, there's some mediums that actually have to be hypnotized in order for them to go into a trance where apparently the spirit guide will take over the
Yeah.
body.
And we know that's not true, right? You do know that, Tim.
So have you ever seen anything like that? I've done some
I've
research
seen lots
on
of
YouTube.
things. Yeah, I've
The
seen lots
voice
of
does
things.
change,
Yeah, I've seen
and
lots of things like that
the
over time.
personality is altered.
Yeah, but
But in psychology, which of course I'm sure they don't believe that, is there a word for it? I mean, what's going on? Is it an altered ego? Because I've seen people on YouTube, they have a British accent, any kind of accent you can imagine.
the human mind is a magnificent thing, and
That's correct.
you know, your own imagination can come up with things that are just unbelievable. It really does, you know. And some of them have, you know, things in their past that give them this ability, and some of them don't, you know. So,
See, there's a lot of parts of the brain that haven't been explored by scientists that are still unknown.
yeah. But we know from the book that two things don't happen. We don't have possession of humans by other spirits, okay? And we don't have devil and demon possessions any longer on this planet. And that hadn't happened since Pentecost. And you can look that up in the Jesus papers, right? All right. We just read this one.
Yeah, Rodney just read that.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Next one. Dear, I think you're.
I'm having a hard time getting stuck on this.
Put your mouse over in the list.
I hit the mouse accidentally and it did something weird.
You're gonna have to go over to the list side and click on that, and then we'll link back to where you were.
It's like I locked it or something. I'm sorry. Ow.
Sorry, y'all. No, give me a second.
Only takes one. While many resorted to these tricks and deceptions, their reputation as a class, after all, stood on apparent achievement. When a shaman failed in his undertaking, if he could not advance a plausible alibi, he was either demoted or killed. Thus, the Amish shamans early perished. Only the shrewd actors survived.
So if they didn't do what they were supposed to do, they would be killed by the tribe. It was shamanism that took the exclusive direction of tribal affairs out of the hands of the old and the strong and lodged it into the hands of the shrewd, the clever, and the far-sighted. So the shamans were able to deceive the whole tribe of people. And you know what the point they're making here is, before that, the affairs were in the affairs of the old and the strong, and they were taken away and given to these charlatans. Okay. Really? Would you take the next one, please?
Me,
Yep.
2. Shamanistic practices. Spirit conjuring was a very precise and highly complicated procedure, comparable to present-day church rituals conducted in an ancient tomb. The human race very early sought for the human
It's supposed to be superhuman.
Careful.
revolution, and men believed shamans utilized the great power of suggestion in their work. It was almost invariably negative suggestion. Only in very recent times has the technique of positive suggestion been employed. In the early development of their profession, the shamans began to specialize in such vocations as rainmaking, disease healing, and crime detecting. Just a minute. Get out of here, okay. To heal diseases was not, however, the chief function of a shamanic medicine man. It was rather to know and to control the hazards of living.
We're coming back to that bad luck thing again, right? Tim, will you take the next one?
Ancient black magic, ancient black art, both religious, and secular, was called white art when practiced by either priests, seers, shamans, or medicine men. The practitioners of the black art were called sorcerers, magicians, wizards, witches, enchanters. How do you pronounce that word?
Looks like necromancers.
Yeah, necromancers,
Yeah.
conjurers, and soothsayers. As time passed, all such purported contact with this.
Supernatural.
Natural.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of mistakes in here. Supernatural was classified either as witchcraft or shamancraft. Huh.
I'm sorry, y'all. I don't have the time to proofread everything all the time.
I'm not sure what the word necromancer
Yeah, I never heard
That's
that word.
probably a combination of two words too.
Oh,
The prefix has to do with death and dying.
Yeah. All right. Tim, or Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. Witchcraft embraced the magic performed by earlier, irregular, and unrecognized spirits. Shamancraft had to do with miracles performed by regular spirits then recognized gods of the tribe. In later times, the witch became associated with the devil, and thus was the state bet for the many comparatively recent exhibitions of religious intolerance. Witchcraft was a religion with many primitive tribes.
And what are they talking about, the religious intolerances? They're talking about burning witches at the stake, you know, in the Middle Ages especially. Right? But those who claim to be witches. Right?
The shamans were great believers in the mission of chance as revelatory of the will of the spirits. They frequently cast lots to arrive at decisions. Modern survivals of this proclivity for casting lots are illustrated not only in the many games of chance, but also in the well-known counting out rhymes. Once the person counted out must die. Now he is only it in some childish game. That which was serious business to primitive man has survived as a diversion of the modern child.
So some of these games children play came from this. Of course, back then they would kill them. Not it. The medicine men put great trust in signs and omens, such as when you hear the sound of a rustling in the tops of the mulberry trees, then shall you bestir yourself. Very early in the history of the race, the shamans turned their attention to the stars. Primitive astrology was a worldwide belief and practice. Dream interpreting also became widespread. All this was soon followed by the appearance of those temperamental shamanists who professed to be able to communicate with the spirits of the dead. It's interesting to hear where all this stuff comes from.
It is. It's interesting to hear this history.
Yeah.
How it evolved.
Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yeah. Though of ancient origin, the rainmakers or weather shamans have persisted right on down through the ages. A severe drought meant death to the early agriculturalist. Weather control was the object of much ancient magic. Civilized man still makes the weather the common topic of conversation. The olden peoples all believed in the power of the shaman as a rainmaker, but it was customary to kill him when he failed. Unless he could offer a plausible excuse to account for the failure.
Now, what excuse would he give them? That the tribe had been bad, or something that the tribe was doing was wrong, so that's why the rain would come. Right? That would keep them from killing them sometimes not. Tim, would you take the next one?
Again and again did the Caesars banish the astrologers, but they invariably returned because of the popular belief in their powers. They could not be driven out. And even in the 16th century after Christ, the directors of Occidental Church and State were the patrons of astrology. Thousands of supposedly intelligent people still believe that one may be born under the domination of a lucky or unlucky star. That the
Juxtaposition.
juxtaposition of the heavenly bodies determine the outcome of various terrestrial adventures. Fortune tellers are still patronized by the credulous. Hey Roger, what does the word terrestrial and
Terrestrial,
Oh,
we're talking about the adventures of the planets in the sky.
terrestrial, so it means planet in the skies?
Yeah, well, it's outside our planet, basically.
Oh, it's outside our planet?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they talking about, the heavenly bodies?
They're talking about the stars.
Okay.
The stars, or planets. Yeah, and it's interesting here they say thousands of supposedly intelligent people still believe that.
It's spelled incorrectly. Was this whole, when you translated it into the,
I just copied
Different
it
format.
with the mouse from the book to the slides.
okay, so his words were spelled incorrectly in the book?
No, probably when it copied them, it transposed some of them.
Oh,
That's,
Okay.
and it seems to be a lot tonight. This usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, I know, it really doesn't.
Because I take it right out of the Foundation's copy of the book,
Okay.
so it should be right. Apparently it's not. So it's probably some kind of electronic
Yeah.
problem, you know. Because I'm copying these things really quickly, but y'all know that it takes me hours and hours and hours to prepare this stuff for each meeting. So by the time I get all the re-indexing done on the papers and that, and get to the point where I'm making slides, it's 8 to 10 hours into what I'm doing. So.
Well, I appreciate your hard work. Thank you, Roger.
Well, you're welcome, but it's just doesn't happen. You know,
Yeah,
it's
this is
not-
unusual that somebody
Yeah.
wants to respond.
Okay. And I've lost. Who's next?
I don't know.
I think Roger.
Are the spirits messing with us?
Yeah. Spirits are messing with me.
Yeah, that's it.
The shamans are messing with me. I've been cursed. Go ahead, Rodney.
And the Greeks believed in the efficacy of oracular advice. The Chinese use magic as protection against demons. Shamanism flourished in India, and it still openly persists in Central Asia. It is an only recently abandoned practice throughout much of the world.
This auricular advice, they're talking about oracles. You know, many cultures believe in oracles, and that's what they're talking about. So,
Matrix.
yeah, matrix.
Ever and anon, true prophets and teachers arose to denounce and expose shamanism. Even the vanishing red man had such a prophet within the past 100 years. The Shani Chukawatowa, who predicted the eclipse of the sun in 1808 and denounced the vices of the white man. Many true teachers have appeared among the various tribes and races all through the long ages of evolutionary history, and they will ever continue to appear to challenge the shamans or priests of any age who oppose general education and attempt to thwart scientific progress.
There you go.
Hey, Roger, just a note here.
Yeah.
I heard that the Rancho Foundation had an editorial problem. So, just to let you know, that's not 1808, it's 1806.
Oh, okay.
Just to run that by everybody, the realtors didn't make the mistake. What happened was, the people typing it from the papers, you know, on a typewriter,
Yeah.
she made a mistake. And if you don't believe me, try copying a New Testament and see if you make any mistakes,
Oh, I
because
know.
that's how the New Testament get, you know, of a copy. Listen to Bart, what's his name? But no, the correct is 1806. I have it here right now in my reference edition.
Yeah.
It's not 1808.
That's what this little star down here is supposed to be about, the footnote. And you're supposed to be able to click on that, but apparently I don't have an internet connection to this, so it won't come up. But that's what those are about. And on the foundation website, on their copy, you can click on those. I think it's the foundation, maybe the fellowship. You can click on those, and it goes and tells you all the corrections and stuff. And on our website, it does the same thing on our paper website. So all those corrections. Okay. Who's up?
I just
I know.
Okay.
no.
In many ways and by devious methods, the olden shamans established their reputation as voices of God and custodians of providence. They sprinkled the water with water and conferred names on them. They circumcised the males. They presided over all burial ceremonies, and they made due announcement of the safe arrival of the dead in spirit land.
Okay. Oh, so how nice of them, right?
Always nice to know you're well around.
Yeah, they're in spirit land, so you have nothing to worry about. All right. Tim, would you take the next one?
The shamanic priests and medicine men often became very wealthy through the
Accretion.
accretion of the various fees, which were
Sensibly.
Sensible.
sensibly offering to the spirits. Not infrequently, a shaman would accumulate practically all the material wealth of his tribe on the death of a wealthy man. Well, it was customary to divide his property equally with the shaman and some public enterprise of charity. This practice still obtains in some parts of Tibet, where one half the male population belongs to this class of non-producers.
You know what you're talking about there, don't you? The shamans and the priests and the medicine men are considered non-producers. They don't have any active job where they work and make money, right? They're supported by the populace, right? And if you think about it, even the priests today, even the Catholic priests, are supported by the donations of the church, right? So they get paid through the church. So they don't labor at anything, and that's what they're talking about here. Half of the male population in Tibet belongs to this class of non-producers, and they're including monks and things like that live in places that have such things like Tibet and India.
You know, when I was in the convent, they had the nuns were petitioning they wanted to be paid a regular amount because they were teachers. It was a Dominican order.
Yeah.
And so they were, there was a lot of controversy about that in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, well, they had free teachers through the service of the nuns.
The nuns wanted to have,
Yeah.
they wanted to have control over, they wanted to have an income so they could do things that they wanted to do personally also. And,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Rodney, I think you're up.
The shamans dressed well and usually had a number of wives. They were the original aristocracy,
That's right.
being exempt from all tribal restrictions. They were very often of no great mind and morals. They
Suppressed.
suppressed. So
That's not what it was.
by denominating them witches or sorcerers, and very frequently rose to such positions of influence and power that they were able to dominate the chiefs or kings.
Well, I tell you, I love being corrected. It makes me feel like a student. And I love having you guys helping me out with words. It's just a fantastic feeling. It's so motivating.
Well, we're not correcting. We don't want to think we're correcting anybody. We're just helping everybody out.
Oh, I appreciate
I
that.
love to be helped because
Yeah.
some of these words are confusing.
Even the simple ones.
Well, there are a lot of misspellings in this one, though.
You know what it may be?
I felt simple.
It may be.
Over so few words, the names of all the beings and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
It may be
There's
copying.
like over 1 million something words.
It may be copying them from the website I was using to copy it into this, and they may have characters in there. And I've noticed a lot of the reviews are missing and things, so it may be
Yeah, because
it's
suppressed, yeah.
the difference in
Yeah,
the characterization from the web to the PowerPoint. So that may be what it is. Oh,
Oops.
did I change it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let me change it. Okay.
Primitive man regarded the shaman as a necessary evil. He feared him but did not love him. Early man respected knowledge. He honored and rewarded wisdom. Shaman was mostly fraud, but the veneration for shamanism well illustrates the premium put on wisdom and evolution of the race.
So I think they kind of summed it up in that paragraph, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's pretty much strong. Right? The shamanistic theory of disease and death. Since ancient man regarded himself his material environment as being directly responsive to the whims of the ghosts and the fancies of the spirits, it is not strange that his religion should have been so exclusively concerned with material affairs. Modern man attacked his material problems directly. He recognizes that matter is responsive to the intelligent manipulation of mind. That's a very important sentence there. Primitive man likewise desires to modify and even to control the life and energies of the physical domains. And since his limited comprehension of the cosmos led him to believe that ghosts, spirits, and gods were personally and immediately concerned with the detailed control of life and matter, he logically directed his efforts to winning the favor and support of these superhuman agencies. There's another one.
That's what that word is, superhuman.
Yeah.
Superhuman.
Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
what does that mean when they say matter is responsive to the intelligent manipulation of mind?
Okay, that's
What
what I'm-
exactly is mind, too, in the Urantia terms?
Yeah, mind is, you have three different areas in the making up of a human being, right? We have matter, mind, and spirit, right? Spirit's part of the soul, and in humans we have what? The thought adjuster or father frame, right? But it is the mind material of the mind circuit which comes from who?
The universe mother spirit?
Universal Mother Spirit, that's correct. And it's that same circuit that comes through us and gives us mind. And it is the mind part that controls physical matter. Okay?
Being a body,
Meaning a body, meaning, yeah.
or a
every-
car, any kind of matter,
Any
like
kind of
just
matter.
physical objects?
Whatsoever. If we knew how to control and manipulate the mind circuit, or our own mind, we can manipulate any type of physical matter. Okay? And we're on the very first level here on this planet. You don't have people manipulating matter very much. The only ones I can think of that actually do that on this planet is probably the mid layers, right? They're on a higher level. They're between matter and spiritual, so they have a better control of the mind circuit to manipulate matter. So in their jobs, occasionally they have to manipulate matter. You never see them do it, but they're allowed to do it for certain exceptional things that need to be done. Okay, but it's the mind circuit that allows us to do that. And every human has a part of him that is pure mind. And that comes from the Universal Mother Spirit, right?
And the infinite spirit, too, correct?
And the Infinite Spirit, that's correct. That's correct. Makes sense? It's a long definition for mind. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Millie, you're on.
Viewed in this light, much of the inexplicable and irrational in the ancient cults is understandable. The ceremonies of the cult were primitive man's attempt to control the material world in which he found himself, and many of his efforts were directed to the end of prolonged life and ensuring health. Since all disease and death itself were originally regarded as spirit phenomena, it was inevitable that the shamans, while functioning as medicine men and priests, should also have labored as doctors and surgeons.
And I guarantee I didn't get my degree from the shamanistic school.
If they said they're the
That's
low
not why they
class
call me
of
Dr.
people,
Bob.
I don't know how one don't have a doctorate and depending on me.
Yeah. All right, Tim, would you take the next one?
The primitive mind may be handicapped by lack of facts, but it is for all that logical. When thoughtful men observe disease and death, they set about to determine the causes of these visitations, and in accordance with their understanding, the shamans and scientists have propounded the following theories of affliction.
And I broke these up because there's some. Rodney, would you take the first one?
Number one, ghost, direct spirit influences. The earliest hypothesis advanced an explanation of disease and death was that spirits cause disease by enticing the soul out of the body. If it failed to return, death ensued. The ancients so feared the malevolent action of the disease-producing ghosts that ailing individuals would often be deserted without even food or water. Regardless of the erroneous basis for these beliefs, they did effectively isolate afflicted individuals and prevent the spread of contagious disease.
Okay, and the first one out of this, I want to make the point that we know that the soul never leaves the body, right, until death. So that cannot happen.
But hey, Roger,
Yeah.
if you were to be challenged, I'm sure all the listeners out there are probably thinking, some of them, you come to my house and I'll show you a ghost. 5 things that will fly off the wall and hit you. There's plenty of evidence. There's plenty of, let's say, shows on TV. I just got done watching one.
Ghost hunters.
You know, how would you, what would be your response?
I would say that that is not the ghost of human beings that have left the planet.
Maybe a midwayer?
Could be a midwayer, could be a visiting student from another planet that don't understand the rules of not interfering with life on this planet. You know, there's
Okay.
millions of beings that come to this planet and leave every day that are they're called student visitors, and they're from all sorts of walks of existence. You know, every kind of being we could possibly think of is on this planet all the time. So it probably, what you're seeing is either that, a midway, there's lots of explanations of other things that could cause that, you know. But according to the book, human beings are not allowed to return to the planet. Now, people say, well, what about disembodied spirits? There is no such thing as a disembodied spirit. Once you die, that which makes your spirit who you are is in charge, is basically within your guardian angel. They're in charge of your soul. Okay? So there aren't any spirits running around that's not accounted for. That's what I'm saying.
So it's fair to say that the finite mind right now, you really can't comprehend yet. We haven't reached that level
No.
yet to where it's going to be identified by scientists and
No.
eventually recognized to get rid of that fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing
Because
is,
that helps. I mean, you know, that's a good answer.
the other thing we have to remember too is we're on a certain level of existence, and there's multiple levels of existence right now on this planet. You know, that we have Morancha beings on this planet, and they're on a different vibration level. You know, so it's also possible that we get little peaks by accident of some of these Morancha beings that are on this planet too. There's actually Morancha facilities, buildings on this planet right now that we cannot see. You could be standing right in the middle of it and you wouldn't know you were there. Just like the revelators that came to this planet to give us this book were standing at 333 in Chicago, and they said during the telling of this book that they could perceive the building but they couldn't see it. Okay? So they didn't even, just like we can't see the Morancha buildings, because they're on a different vibratory level than we are.
It's
So-
amazing because I heard one psychic say back in my early days, the reason why ghosts, you see them like, you know, they're not really on a rooted foundation, because they're on another plane.
Yeah, yeah, that's the easiest way to say it. And
That's why they're
I've
floating around.
watched the shows, you know, like Ghost Hunters and things like that, several seasons and stuff, and seen all the
Or the little
paranormal,
orbs.
yeah, phenomena and all that stuff too. You know.
Yeah.
And it's all explainable if you understand, you know, what's going on in the universe, you know. And I guarantee you, they're not human ghosts. The other thing is too, time is not what we perceive it to be. You know, who knows that we can't hear a voice that said something in 100 years in the past. It's like a tape that keeps going over and over again because it's stuck in some kind of time. Yeah.
Yes, you know what that's referred to, according to a psychic? It's called a past impression.
There you
When
go.
something negative or an evil act was committed,
Yeah. They find that a lot around suicides. People who
right, it's called a
commit
past
suicide.
impression.
Yeah. Okay, did we read this yet? Who's that? You? Okay.
2. Violence. Obvious causes. The causes for some accidents and deaths were so easy to identify that they were early removed from the category of ghost action. Fatalities and wounds attendant on war, animal combat, and other readily identifiable agencies were considered as natural occurrences. But it was long believed that the spirits were still responsible for delayed healing or for the infection of wounds of even natural causation. If no observable natural agent could be discovered, the spirit ghosts were still held responsible for disease and death.
Okay, so they were pretty much blamed for everything, right? Today in Africa and elsewhere may be found primitive peoples who kill someone every time a non-violent death occurs. Their medicine men indicate the guilty parties. If a mother dies in childbirth, the child is immediately strangled, a life for life. How sad. Superstition will do lots of things, right? Nellie, would you take the next one, please?
Oh,
Did we do three?
I got it.
Now, the influence of enemies, much sickness, was thought to be caused by bewitchment, the action of the evil eye, and the magic pointing bow. At one time, it was really dangerous to point a finger at anyone. It's still regarded as ill-mannered to point. In cases of obscure disease and death, the ancients would hold a formal inquest, dissecting the body, and settle on firm finding as the cause of death. It's interesting. Otherwise, the death would be laid to witchcraft, thus necessitating the execution of the witch responsible therefor. These ancient coroners' inquests saved many a supposed witch's life. Among some, it was believed that a tribesman could die as a result of his own witchcraft, in which event no one was accused. Serves him right.
That's right. Messing around with animals. Tim, would you take the next one?
For sin, punishment for taboo violation. In comparatively recent times, it has been believed that sickness is a punishment for sin, personal or racial. Among peoples traversing this level of evolution, the prevailing theory is that one cannot be afflicted unless one has violated a taboo. To regard sickness and suffering as arrows of the Almighty within them is typical of such beliefs. The Chinese and Mesopotamians long regarded disease as the result of the action of evil demons, although the Chaldeans also look on the stars as the cause of suffering. This theory of disease as a consequence of divine wrath is still prevalent among many reputedly civilized groups. Eurasians, it's GROS, it's making a mistake again.
Groups.
At least they're consistent.
Yeah, really. Rodney, will you take the next one?
Number 5, natural causation. Mankind has been very slow to learn the material secrets in the interrelationship of cause and effect in the physical domains of energy, matter, and life. Ancient Greeks have preserved the traditions of Adamson's teachings were among the first to recognize that all disease is the result of natural causes. Slowly and certainly the unfolding of a scientific era is destroying man's age-old theories of sickness and death. Fever was one of the first human ailments to be removed from the category of supernatural disorders, and progressively the era of science has broken the fetters of ignorance which so long imprisoned the human mind. An understanding of old age and contagion has gradually obliterated man's fear of ghosts, spirits, and gods as the personal perpetrators of human misery and mortal suffering.
You know, it's like I always say, getting old is not for sissies, right? That's what they're talking about here. Because we have a growing senior population, there's much less fear of ghosts and spirits and gods because there's less fear of dying. As people grow older, they eventually start to accept the fact that they're going to die and go on. So it eases this fear of spirits and ghosts and things like that. So.
You know what it truly is? If you really examine death, it's also the fear of not existing, the fear of, am I going to be able to exist? Will I exist?
The fear of the unknown.
The fear of not existing is probably one of the most. But then, the fear of how am I going to die? Is it going to be painful? But they say that death is truly as easy as walking through a door.
It is.
Usually it's, the fear of not existing that most people are so afraid of, because that, sometimes I get scared too, but it's just, I remember what the Revelation teaches, having that faith, just like a child.
It all comes down to faith, Tim. If when Jesus was running around teaching, what was his main teaching? The fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of men. And if God is our Father and God is a Spirit, then we as sons of God eventually have to become Spirit, right? So how else can we commune with the Father unless we are Spirit? So really it's a natural progression from human to Maranja to Spirit, because it's just like a stepping stone going to the source of our existence.
And I say that because eventually, in time, as we go through the ages, I'm telling you the truth that people, scientists, are going to even be able to make that so hard that they're going to tell you that, like near-death experiences, they're going to tell you, well, we can explain. I mean, even today, doctors can do that. But just remember to have the simplest faith, that acknowledging that you're a son or daughter of God and you're going to survive death.
Yeah,
and it's
all,
really
that's
that.
all you
It's
need.
so easy a 6-year-old can do it. But I promise you that people in the near future will make it so complicated. They're going to say, "Well, the atheists were right." I mean, and they weren't.
Hopefully not.
I'm with the comedian who says, I don't want to die, I just want to leave where it happens. It's the fear of the indignity, the pain that the doctors
Yeah.
needles and tubes and the incontinence and someone having to take care of you.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
really.
that's not nice.
The fear of the hospitals and the doctors. Actually, if you think about it, the doctors, being one in the past, are not that much different than the medicine man. People think it's this magical thing that doctors do, and it's not. It's just a natural progression of trial and error. And that's what our medical society does. And we've gotten better at it over time. The surgeries they do now is amazing.
There's a reason it's called practicing medicine.
That's right. That's what they call practice. They don't say that it's perfected medicine, right?
They're still practicing.
That's right. Still practicing. Let's go on. Who's this? Rodney?
I just heard it.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Evolution unerringly achieves its end. It imbues man with that superstitious fear of the unknown and dread of the unseen, which is the scaffolding for the God concept. And having witnessed the birth of an advanced comprehension of deity through the coordinate action of revelation, this same technique of evolution then unerringly sets in motion those forces of thought which will inexorably obliterate the scaffolding which has served its purpose.
Well, I got a lot of corrections to make this. Medicine under the shamans. Shamans, I'm sorry.
Shamans.
Shamans. The entire life of ancient men was a prophylactic. Yeah, that's what it says. Their religion was in no small measure a technique for disease prevention. And regardless of their error in the theories, they were wholehearted in putting them into effect. They had unbounded faith in their methods of treatment, and that in itself is a powerful remedy. And doctors will tell you all the time, 80% of the patients that come to see you will heal themselves if you let them.
And that's in Jesus' ministry, it was that way too.
Yeah.
Because
What's that, Roger? That they would what? Kill themselves?
Heal themselves. The
Heal,
body is
heal.
a self-healing
Oh,
organism.
I thought you said kill.
No.
He has
The
a southern
body-
accent.
The body is a self-healing organism, and if you allow it to, most things it will heal itself up. When you get overrun by bacteria and things like that, many times the medicines just become necessary. That's all there is to it. But the body is a self-healing mechanism, and they used to teach us in medical school that 80% of the patients that walk in the door, once they see you, they feel better just because they've seen you. You know. And
Hey, Roger.
it's the 20% that makes you a good doctor. You know? Yeah.
I once went into a shop called the Dancing Moon. It was a metaphysical shop,
Uh-huh.
and the woman went up to the counter and said, I have a headache. And the woman said, here, try these rocks. I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, here, man, take 2 of these.
Yeah.
She was given a rock to cure her headache.
Yeah.
I gave her 2 aspirins.
Maybe that's why people love rock and roll.
I suspect what she wanted was for the woman to put the rocks on her head.
Probably.
That's
That would go along with the rocks in her head too, right there. That's good. That's good. All right. We just
And, the faith required to get well under the foolish ministrations of one of these ancient shamans was, after all, not materially different from that which is required to experience healing at the hands of some of his latter-day successors who engage in the non-scientific treatment of disease.
Yeah, there's a lot of them around today still. No, Rodney.
The more primitive tribes greatly feared the sick, and for long ages they were carefully avoided, shamefully neglected. It was a great advance in
Humanitarianism.
thank you, humanitarianism, when the evolution of shamancraft produced priests and medicine men who consented to treat disease. Then it became customary for the entire clan to crowd into the sick room to assist the shaman in howling the diseased ghosts away. It was not uncommon for a woman to be the diagnosing shaman, while a man would administer treatment. The usual method of diagnosing disease was to examine the entrails of an animal.
You know what that is, right? The intestines of an animal, which means absolutely nothing.
Disease was treated.
Yeah.
Disease was treated by chanting, howling, laying on of hands, breathing on the patient, and many other techniques. In later times, a resort to
Temple sleep.
temple sleep, during which healing supposedly took place, became widespread. The medicine men eventually essayed actual surgery in connection with temple slumber. Among the first operations was that of
Trephining the skull.
trephining the skull to allow a headache spirit to escape. The shamans learned to treat fractures and dislocations, to open boils and abscesses. The shamanists became adept at midwifery.
What they're talking about with the skulls, they'd actually drill a little hole in the skull, take a little piece out so that the headache could get out.
You know, and in the show we just saw yesterday, actually, on Earth, they actually, when, that was the wall of China, the
Yeah.
one before that, they actually, with the Roman.
Yeah, with the gladiators.
The gladiators, they would actually do that,
Yeah.
and it helped them.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of chanting, Roger, there's some organizations, I'm not going to name any, but they believe that by chanting, God is present in His holy names. But if you don't chant, God is not present, and we know better.
Yeah, yeah, we do. See, that's the thing of, I feel sorry for people that didn't understand the function of the thought adjuster, because God is always with us. He's never away from us. So, you know, we don't have to go through these exorbitant procedures to get God to listen. All we have to do is talk to God. So,
Well, I think sometimes because, I'm a singer, it's when you sing, when you do the chanting, it does elevate your consciousness.
makes you
Sure
closer.
it does, yes.
Makes you
There are
closer.
benefits to
Yeah.
chanting, I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say a lot of my prayer, I chant a lot of my prayers because it just feels, I feel so connected,
But what I'm just saying is that, we know better that you don't have to chant to keep the presence of God
Oh,
around you.
no.
God is
Absolutely
dwelling within you,
not.
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because there's benefits to affirmations and chanting and meditation, wonderful benefits to be gained, and do it.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
So much.
Who's up next?
Gee, I don't know why I keep on using that this thing.
Yeah, me too.
Just read it. Isn't that one?
I don't know, you read it.
Diane just read,
Oh,
yeah.
just
this
read.
it's mine then. Okay, it was a common method of treatment to rub something magical on an infected or blemished spot on the body, throw the charm away, and supposedly experience a cure. If anyone should chance to pick the discarded charm, it was believed he would immediately acquire the infection or blemish. It was a long time before herbs and other real medicines were introduced. Massage was developed in connection with incantation, rubbing the spirit of the body, and was preceded by efforts to rub medicine in, even as moderns attempt to rub ailments in. I don't know what that's supposed to be, coping, I think, cupping,
Cupping?
and sucking the affected parts together with bloodletting were thought to be of value in getting rid of disease, producing spirit. Millie.
Since water was a potent fetish, it was utilized in the treatment of many ailments. For long, it was believed that the spirit causing the sickness could be eliminated by sweating. Vapor baths were highly regarded. Natural hot springs soon blossomed as primitive health resorts. Early man discovered that the heat would relieve pain. He used sunlight, fresh animal organs, hot clay, and hot stones, and many of these methods are still involved. Rhythm was practiced in an effort to influence the spirits. The tom-toms were universal.
Hope nobody's mad at us, but we're revealing truth, guys.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
We always step on a lot of toes every week, is what it seems
About
like.
5,000 years from now, it's all gonna make sense, guys, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it from Tim.
Never know.
Hot rocks for the world. Like never the session, you get a hot rock with breakfast foods for it.
It does.
Tim, would you take the next one, please?
Among some people, disease was thought to be caused by a wicked conspiracy between spirits and animals. This gave rise to the belief that there existed a beneficial plant remedy for every animal-caused disease. The red men were especially devoted to the plant theory of universal remedies. They also put a drop of blood in the root hole left when the plant was pulled.
When the plant was pulled up,
Yeah. As payment for the plant. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Fasting, dieting, and counter irritants were often used as
Remedial.
remedial measures. Human secretions, being definitely magical, were highly regarded. Blood and urine were used thus among the earliest medicines and were soon augmented by roots and various soils. Shamans believed that diseased spirits can be driven out of the body by foul smelling and bad tasting medicines. Purging very early became a routine treatment, and the values of raw tobacco and quinine were among the earliest pharmaceutical discoveries.
The Greeks were the first to evolve truly rational methods of treating the sick. Both the Greeks and the Egyptians received their medical knowledge from the Euphrates Valley. Oil and wine was a very early medicine for treating wounds. Castor oil and opium were used by the Sumerians. Many of these ancient and effective secret remedies lost their power when they became known. Secrecy has always been essential to the successful practice of fraud and superstition. Only facts and truth court the full light of comprehension and rejoice in the illumination and enlightenment of scientific research.
Priests and rituals. The essence of the ritual is the perfection of its performance. Among savages, it must be practiced with exact precision. It is only when the ritual has been correctly carried out that the ceremony possesses compelling power over the spirits. If the ritual is faulty, it only arouses the anger and resentment of the gods. Therefore, since man's slowly evolving mind conceived that the technique of ritual was the decisive factor in its efficacy, it was inevitable that early shamans should sooner or later evolve into a priesthood trained to direct the meticulous practice of the ritual. And so for tens of thousands of years, endless rituals have hampered society and cursed civilization, have been an intolerable burden to every act of life, every racial undertaking. Now they are talking about priests here, y'all, right? So we know where we are. Okay. Millie, would you take the next one?
Ritual is the technique of sanctifying custom. Ritual creates and perpetuates myths as well as contributing to the preservation of social and religious customs. Again, ritual itself has been covered by myths. Rituals are often at first social and later becoming economic and finally acquiring the sanctity and dignity of religious ceremony. Ritual may be personal or group in practice, or both, as illustrated by prayer, dancing, and drumming.
Tim.
Words became a part of rituals, such as the use of terms like amen and zilea. The habit of swearing profanity represents a prostitution of formal ritualistic repetition of holy names. The making of the pilgrimage to sacred shrines is a very ancient ritual. The ritual next grew into elaborate ceremonies of purification, cleansing, and sanctification. The initiation ceremonies of the primitive tribal secret societies were in reality a crude religious rite. The worship technique of the Odin mystery cults was just one long performance of accumulated religious ritual. Ritual finally developed into the modern type of social ceremonials, and religious worship. Services embracing prayer, song, responsive reading, and other individual groups, spiritual devotions.
Spoken culture. Rodney.
The priests evolved from shamans to oracles, diviners, singers, dancers, weather makers, guardians of religious relics, temple custodians, and foretellers of events, to the statute of actual directors of religious worship. Eventually, the office became hereditary, a continuous priestly task.
And that started with whom? Seth. The Sethite priests, right?
As religion evolved, priests began to specialize according to their innate talents or special
Predilections.
predilections. Some became singers, others prayers, and still others sacrificers. Later came the orators, preachers, and when religion became institutionalized, these priests claimed to hold the keys of heaven.
The priests have always,
Talk about the Catholic Church.
the priests have always sought to impress and awe the common people by conducting the religious ritual in an ancient tongue and by sundry magical passes so to mystify the worshippers as to enhance their own piety and authority. The great danger in all this is that the ritual tends to become a substitution for religion. Let's just strip back all our fantasies out. Millie.
The priesthood has done much to delay scientific development and to hinder spiritual progress, but they have contributed to the stabilization of civilization and to the enhancement of certain kinds of culture. But many modern priests have ceased to function as directors of the ritual of the worship of God, and in turn their attention to theology, the attempt to confound God.
Tim.
It is not denied that the priests have been a millstone about the neck of the races, but the true religious leaders have been invaluable in pointing the way to higher and better realities, presented by Melchizedek of Nebadon. That was fantastic.
That was an interesting paper. Next week we'll start with the evolution of prayer. We pulled back a lot of myths today. Let's have a little prayer and then we'll close for the night. Rodney, would you like to pray for us?
Heavenly Father, we give thanks for each and every one of us, for the opportunity that we have had to come together this evening to study this paper on shamanism, masonry, and prayers. And we pray for guidance and wisdom and insight to discern these truths. We hope our minds will on earth, we may share it what we have learned with other people. Now we give thanks to you, Heavenly Father, for your will be done. Amen.
Amen. And thank you at home for joining us. Please do this again.